Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of TMC, where we are here to help you take your relationship from surviving to thriving. If this is your first time joining us, go ahead and subscribe. Click the like button and turn on your notifications so you'll be notified every time we upload a video. Today on TMC, we have Chuck and Andrea with Team Newlyweds.
Excited to be here. We've heard a lot of great things about the podcast. Just a little bit about us. We met through mutual friends at an event and really just connected. And so, I have a background in ministry and was really at a point where I was looking for a relationship that was purpose driven. Right. But, individually, I'm in diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have a son who we love, almost 1 year old.
Let's go.
And
I'm a 27. I'm a 27. January 27.
Yes.
Yeah, and we really connected over just understanding our passion for people and God's people. And just components of that, like just finding out like, oh, you did that? Oh, you interned there? Like, what? I did that. So it was just a beautiful coming together, just understanding like who she is and who I was. And basically our paths just lined up together and it was just beautiful. Speaking about myself, I am a newly graduate of Dallas Theological Seminary. I'm in business with my parents. We own a childcare and preschool and after school program for over 30 years now. Awesome. So what I do.
Awesome. So how long have you all been married?
Yes. So we got married at the height of the pandemic. Yeah. It'll be 2 years.
2 years.
In October.
Some, seasoned saints would say we fresh. We just got
our... We're new in the game. You
right.
See how I stretch.
Got our ears.
Said we've been married for a year.
All right. That's awesome. Well, welcome to the game. How does it feel to be in the game, the marriage game?
How does it feel to be in the marriage game? For me, it was exciting. It's still exciting. So it's like every day is new, especially when you're first starting off as well. Mm-hmm. It's exciting because I feel like I'm still learning her. I'm learning more parts about her that I didn't know. Wow, I need to really tap into that. Like this will help me love you in this way. Okay, I did not know that when we first. Okay, but this will help me love you. I think everyone knows with marriages, whether new or at the end, you're gonna have ups and downs.
Absolutely.
So for me, one of the reasons why I say it's exciting is because even when we have conflict, we still come to the understanding that we love each other and how can we get over this hump. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's exciting for me because I'm like, coming from, other relationships when you're not quite mature in that way, it's always like, I got to get you or not realizing that you're on the same team. So that's one of the like reasons I can connect and say like, wow, that's exciting. Like we're grown ups. So
we're like, sure to your listeners, we're just gonna sound like that, stereotypical newlywed couple. Right. But I think that's really where we are. Like we're a year in the game and things are, still fresh in the sense that there's like lots of adventure. And it's been unique for us being that we did get married in the pandemic, and we were also expecting. So it's been like, at work they're like, oh my goodness, it's milestone after milestone. We were debt free. And so that really set us up. And so we spent the first 6 months of our marriage in, the apartment that we, moved into after we got married. And then we actually spent some time living in his parents. They have an apartment above in their floor plan. And so we spent the next 6 months saving for our home, which we just closed on. And so it's been
congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. And now baby boy's about to turn 1. I just graduated with my master's in public administration. So it's just been adventure and work, just like really establishing the foundation for the life that we're trying to build, the life of ministry and a life of public service. And I think what's also unique is like we still both kind of had one foot in projects, so to speak, that we were in while we were single, right? And so we both were, started grad school when we were single. And so now to be a unit, it's like, oh my goodness, okay, you can make me dinner while I'm studying for this. It's making, things like that easier. And I think even going to work, it just provides kind of like a mission, right? Like we're a team in the sense that, okay, we're struggling, but we know we're striving for buying that first home, or, we're trying to give our son the best. And so it's awesome to, have that unity and share a common purpose.
I really love you all keep saying the word. I keep hearing team, team, team. And I believe that's really awesome. I don't know if you guys in the sports, but we know everyone probably know LeBron James. LeBron James, he went from the Cleveland, jumping from different teams. I mean, there's changes you have to deal with, right? Both of you guys being single, you're playing on really a one-man team or a team with your family, with your, your parents or whatever. And now you guys are coming together as a team, two becoming one as a team. What are you guys doing in this transition?
I would say one is getting rid of all of your expectations, because that only harms the marriage, and making Christ the foundation. What I love is that in the word, and when it's talking about instructions for the man and the woman, it's pointing us outward, living a sacrificial marriage, or making sure that you sacrifice for her and she sacrificed for you, is going to allow y'all to be on the same page and the same team. So keeping that in I think the cornerstone allows us to be on teams. And I'm not going to say like we're perfect, like at all. I'm just, we go through a lot of difficult situations. And I would almost say, for me speaking, these last 2 years has been as much as I've been blessed and got the, queen of my heart, during COVID and going through different transitions, it's been a difficult time for me. And if you don't know how to be a team, if you don't know how to release that and submit to one another, your team is not going to work. My perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. Like practically, I think we're a team in the sense that, everything that he said, absolutely, like, keeping Christ at the center. But I think what it breaks down to in the day to day is, for example, I had Saturday classes. And we have a son, right? And so I had to drive all the way. I was in classes in Denton, and he willingly stepped up. This guy, would love to sleep in on a Saturday morning, as we all would. Yeah. But stepping up to provide for our son and make the meal and deal with the growing tantrums and different things. Yeah. So I can go in peace, knowing that the house is taken care of, right? And so that, to me, is very different than what I expected. I, thought coming into marriage, once you're into marriage as a woman, and it's time for you to like take care of the household or whatever kind of like societal expectations, that you may have grown up in your culture. But I know for me, I'm coming from an African household. That's something we forgot to mention, that because I think that context is important. Yeah. My family is originally from Belgium and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Central Africa, and immigrated here. I bounced around, they moved to New York and different things, but I grew up predominantly in Texas. And then his mom, she's come from Arkansas, and his dad immigrated from Nigeria. And so we're both kind of like, in the middle of two cultures and two worlds, which taught us two very different perspectives of marriage. And then, getting saved, that taught us and showed us new examples of being sacrificial and loving one another, like Christ loved the church. And so,
but I will have to say, my dad coming from Nigeria, which I kind of regret, because I'm like, you should have gave us more culture. He didn't give us any cultures. it was nothing about how he did his marriage, that was related to being Nigerian. And so it was interesting, because I was like, now my dad took on the mindset of the culture by himself, but it wasn't implemented in the way that was, communicating to his kids, like, yo, this is the way marriage should look. It was more like,
are you trying to say like it was more so like what they decided for their relationship?
Exactly.
Because of their faith.
And I'll say one more point, like just understanding when to advocate for yourself as well, because you're going to grow tired of sacrificing yourself sometimes. You're going to feel like you're being used and you're not being thought of or considered. Both of us has felt that way in the marriage. for us, we always have to have that temperature check.
Yeah.
We can tell, how, and this is just for all humans, sometimes we communicate how we're really feeling by how we act, but not by what we're saying, but how we act. I could be going out too much and she feel like she's been at home with Zeke too much. And, I come home and, she's might be stumping around a little bit and, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. But I think we've created a pattern where, hey, I need you to speak up for yourself so I can know, because I'm not a mind reader, and that goes for me as well. So, yeah, I think that's super important to keeping the team intact.
Sometimes, when couples come together and we're two becoming one, and maybe my family has these cultural ideas and your family and how we are raised and brought up. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that'll help someone. How do you all navigate those cultural differences versus what you believe in?
That's the question. I think that is kind of like the biggest journey for us. And where, like he was saying, like really the learning process in a marriage, it has to do with that, because yes, the person and different things while you're dating, but you see their mindset, you see their culture when you're living together, when you're making daily life decisions. And so for me, I think I hesitate to like make my experience an entire culture, so I'll just put that disclaimer. But I think, I was really taught to really think with like a global perspective. And my experience growing up was one where we moved often, and it was kind of normal to really seek new experiences and different things like that, and to really work hard for the finer things in life, even although this may not have been at the forefront or the heart of that mindset, even at the expense of the family in some regard, and spending time and building generational wealth, or healthy systems and different things like that. And so that's one thing, because even in dating, I have the mindset of like, okay, yeah, like we can live here for some time, and then let's go try out this city and different things like that. And clearly I still love travel. I still think like all of that is amazing. I mean, I love people and I love culture, and I really, because that was my experience, I can see the benefits of it as well as the ways in which it hurt me, right? In ways that I couldn't understand while I was young. And so it's my natural bend to be like, oh, okay, like let's do national, job searches, or global, Tanzania, let's go, like that's, but I think, what's been interesting is he grew up in a very stable, like, parents at every football game, kind of family, you gonna be in church, so let the coach know type of family. And while I, was introduced to church and to the faith by my family, that wasn't always the case. I mean, my parents, were really working hard and, to kind of sustain our lifestyle. And that was amazing in its own right. Like we spent a lot of time at like larger family gatherings, which is, I think, another cultural thing is, hey, everybody's family, and we, our house is, we host often, and and everybody's a cousin, sometimes to a fault. And so, coming into that kind of a dynamic, it's interesting, because they might be asking, or he was asking, like, all right, I need help, like who's who, and like, I need a little bit of, a conversation about boundaries, and and also this is the biggest part that, I think tested us the most, especially engagement, is understanding culturally and then biblically what it means to honor your parents.
For me, and I love you, and human culture didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was biblical culture. And what does that mean for me was like, I'm just being completely honest, babe.
Human culture, you love your Nigerian culture.
I do, but when I say human culture doesn't matter, I'm saying in the understanding of
it bows to Christ.
Yes, it dictating my life.
Yeah.
If it's you get what I'm saying? I must do life in this manner because this is what the culture has told me to do. I appreciate and I love culture and I love my Nigerian heritage. I love our music. I love our food. Jolo fries, fufu, all that. Like, I love it. How can we make this thing work culturally? Because she still believes some of the ideology that she was raised on, and I still believe the ideology that I was raised on, but we still love each other. How do we make this work, if that makes sense?
I love this. If you're newlyweds or if you're just, thinking about getting married, I mean, this is the norm. This is the norm. And I'm glad you guys talking about this specific thing, because one of the things with family dynamics, this is something that we have to work through.
A lot of times, people are not necessarily prepared for that or fully understanding. You just like, oh, I love him. I love her. We're getting married. Oh, we're going to have a great life. Then it's like, wait a minute, your cultural differences, your family, your upbringing steps in, your family, your upbringing steps in. And then it's like, okay, what do we do with this? And sometimes that knowledge is not there to know that it's something that you work through. And then, you probably weave a little bit from his side, weave a little bit from your side. And then you have those parts that you totally create on your own. And that supersedes anything that you had before. So yeah, I think that's definitely awesome to share with the TMC listeners.
Yeah.
And I would just add, I think something else that, we're actively working on is like in our conversation, he is more bent towards, this is the fact. Yeah. So, that's what it is. Let's talk about facts here. And there might be instances in which I'm saying, but the reason why I initiated this conversation is to talk about the feeling, right? Acknowledging that the feeling is not fact, but the feeling exists. And and we talk often, like, I think we're using the word team tonight, but often in our marriage, it's wait, okay, are we married? Are you my partner? Yeah. Because if you're my partner, then our legs are tied. We're in a 3-legged race. You can't go further unless you address this, right? And so that's what we're actively working on, because I think I can work to be a little bit more, okay, what is the fact in my feeling? What does the Lord say about, whatever lie I'm believing in this moment, or whatever the case? And then to you, really trying to, to grow, to be empathetic, and not saying to be a mind reader, but I think you do a good job. Like, sometimes it's like you switch on, and I notice like sometimes you switch on a hat and you're like, and like you really are able to be empathetic, and you meet me there. And that was really something that I noticed when we were dating. And, because we didn't have those moments as much before a marriage relationship, I was like, wow, I really see that. And then in marriage, it's like, oh, okay, I'm seeing that 50% of the time, but then I still get that other 50 because we live together, and sometimes he, needs to fill up his own cup, before he can support me or whatever the case. So we're actively working on that, I think, too.
Yeah, I think, regardless of what your parents was, in a loving relationship or a not so great relationship, I think it's still a blessing to see the demonstration of what to do and what not to do. Because I love my father. I named my son, Bennett. His middle name is Bennett after him. My dad's Nigerian, so emotions, it's not great. And my mom, one of her love languages is words of affirmation. So you can imagine my household. I don't know if that helped me to, go into relationships, especially my relationship with my wife, with having the understanding of I don't want to make a general statement and say all women, but I know, a majority of women needs to be heard and have their feelings acknowledged. So for me, I wanted to make a demonstration to you to show I'm not just with you to be with you. I'm here to understand your feelings, for you to, rest in me and allow yourselves to be open. And I think when we got married, we have to be careful with feelings, because when you start projecting feelings to become a reality, that becomes a problem within the relationships. So it's okay to feel. It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to, feelings indicate something is there that has to be addressed. So if you're feeling, this, you can't well, I just feel like you never take out the trash, or I just feel like you never pick up Zeke from, work. Or you say to me, or I say to you, I just feel like you never clean or never cook. None of those statements are true. I feel like for our marriage. And, you know, I want to also acknowledge her feelings, but I want to help her like understand, like, yo, let's be careful of making feelings, you know, reality without, you know, filtering them. And I think that's huge in marriage. And not saying logic is all good. Logic can get you in trouble.
It should be a balance.
Right. Right. Logic can definitely, because logic can definitely get you in trouble.
Let me show you a quick story with us. So when we first bought this house, right, I remember going into the model home and I told her, I said, all right, so don't get emotional. I said, we're going to go in here. We're going to get the house, right? So we went in, we got the house. And then it started getting to the time where, you know, what color bricks we're going to put on the house and this and this. This is something I experienced. As a man, I remember when she wasn't really emotional about it. And then I started feeling some kind of way. I remember asking, I'm like, man, what's wrong with you? Do you want the house or not? And she was like, she said, well, you told me that don't get emotional. At that moment, I realized men want certain things and women want certain things. I realized at that point, I told her, I said, you know what? I said, please don't be me, because I don't like me that much. I told her, I said, I really don't like me that much. I said, man, I said, please be you. And I learned a valuable lesson. And it really taught me just the dynamic between men and women, because it was something about me as a man, as the provider. When she didn't respond to it, I thought something was wrong. So I'm like,
I get that.
And I'm like, so you don't want the house or what? You know, and I really.
But I think, and what I think is good, Cedric, is what Chuck was saying when you were talking about, because you do this for me. It's like, I do believe that we as women, there may be some women that disagree, but I do believe that we as women are a little bit more emotional. But a lot of times for me, as I'm sure you do for Andrea, you help like bring it down, like, okay, this is my emotional part, and I'm going in on a tangent, I'm talking whatever it is, but then Cedric interjects some logic, and it's like, okay, I get how you feeling, but what part of this is a fact? Because that's what you all are saying. What part of this is fact? Because what you've done is you've allowed me to acknowledge my feelings. I've got to throw it all out there, and it's out there. I'm telling you how I feel. And even in those moments when I may just need you to listen to how I feel and console me, that happens. But if it's something where a decision needs to be made, then it's like, okay, that's how you feel. But, you know, are you taking this personal, or is that a fact? You know, are you allowing yourself to be offended by this when it's really not that? And even, so talking through it helps.
And even one of the things that in 23 years that really worked for us is the aspect of one thing. And I loved it. And I love this analogy we're using, that was saying team, because every team, different players have strengths and weaknesses. And so what I learned and what really worked for us, it's kind of embarrassing to say, but I'm talking, we've been married 23 years. It took us about 12 years for us to get this. We toggled long time going back and forward, because I'm trying to make her me and she's trying to make me her. And then we realized, like, wow, I married you for this. This is why I fell in love with you. I fell in love with you because of your strength. You fell in love with me because of my strength. Don't change that. And that's the thing about a team. If somebody in basketball, if somebody a center and somebody a point guard, the point guard is not going to be in the position to play center, or they will lose the game every time. So it's like the strengths. Chicago Bulls, you had Jordan, you had Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was the rebounding king. That's it. And it's like, all of them together. If one of them was off the team, they wouldn't have won the championship they won. So it's like in marriages, you know, for all of us, and I love this, is taking advantage of your spouse strength and weaknesses and offsetting each other. And that's what makes a marriage great.
That's it.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, there are times, you know, where I might be able to say, hey, babe, look, I know you just got off the phone with so-and-so, and they may have said this and you took it as fact, but, you know, either Holy Spirit is telling me, or whatever, you could say my womanhood is telling me, you know, I think you need to press into that a little bit more. Go ahead and start praying on that, because I feel like there was more to that. And he's able to help me press in and say, hey, okay, I know you're going into this conversation, and I know, it's your heart to just love and serve, or whenever that's your friend, but I need you to go ahead and advocate for yourself also, and giving me that strength, to and then have that perspective.
That's so good.
But I'll tell you, at the same time, I appreciate, y'all helping highlight that, we are a team. But I'll say that, it reminds me of the documentary we watched with Marvin Sapp, and he talks about how good, all the sales were for his song Never Would Have Made It, right? But he talked about how he would have traded in all of the success for that record to not have gone through what he went through to sing that authentically. So the fact that we are a team, I have to be transparent in saying it's because we had no choice. We had opposition, so much opposition that us choosing marriage was choosing, hey, it's going to be me and you.
Man, we fought like,
be me and you.
We had boxing gloves, bro. Satan was dramatic. Really, he was working on overtime, boy. I'm telling you that.
Yeah, and praise the Lord, like things have definitely, taken shape, because once people see, oh man, like, okay, y'all kind of like have the baby, y'all doing all right, and y'all got a house, like, oh, this is actually working out, right? People are able to see, what God told you.
I'm telling you, to go with that team analogy, is just having the understanding, if it's your team, you got to be cautious of who's outside of your team.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's not on your team.
All in place.
And that is what we learned quickly.
Yes.
Come on. So we have to learn how to filter through, who's really on our team. Who's really trying to see us win. Who's really trying to see a marriage that has longevity, right? Who's trying to be on your team. So I'm gonna tell you, God was taking people away from us quicker than we can bat an eye.
I mean, you thought 2020 was hard. We were engaged in 2020, got married and pregnant.
We saw the Lord really just start, dropping people. It hurt at the moment, but in my spirit, I was like, baby, I told you, I was like, look, I'm like, for where the Lord is taking us, some people can't go because they're not for us. You understand? And that's okay. You can go eat at another table. I still want to see you win. You just go eat at that table. We're gonna eat at this one. And that's okay.
And there's different seasons, like there might be that the Lord needs you, to hone in, right? And to focus in on this, development of this new union. And then, people might be entered into your life, but who's leading your life? I think if you really ask yourself, would I really willingly sign up to die to myself and be in covenant and, do all these things if it wasn't for the purpose that God placed on my life, if it wasn't for advancing God's kingdom agenda? That's really why we are so confident in saying that, this is a team. Look, I was out here ready to be Carrie, whatever her name is, Bradshaw, Sex in the City. I was going to move to New York. I thought I grew up, thinking that's what I'm going to work for, to go and have the shoes and all the culture in New York. That's me in my flesh, right? But what am I doing? I've submitted, and Lord has entered into my life. And I just recognize that we can go farther together, and that there's going to be legacy. There's going to be purpose for Christ from my life. And I can go farther in relationship and marriage with this man right here.
I'll be quiet. I just wanted to say, I think you do a great job of always reminding us, we're on teams. We're on the same team. And that brings me back into a whirlwind of just the reality of marriage, sacrificial love, what that looks like. We're on the same team. I'm married. I live with her. We've had a child. If anyone's on my team, she's on my team. So, and I will say this: if you're about to get married, you're having trouble, discerning if this person is really on your team, I will say by their fruit, you should know them.
That's good. That's good.
So if you're getting married, we on team, but if the fruit's not adding up.
For example, how can you know that you're, dating someone that is going to be invested in being a team before you're married? What, not to
Yeah, I think it's in the fruit. it was the consistency of our, when we were together, it was the consistency. I think we had graduated to that level, like we're not trying to play games.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
We were like, we're not playing games. We're consistent in our relationship. Meaning, like I called you, I'm like, hey, how you doing? You call me, how we doing? Oh, what are you looking for in a relationship? Someone that follows God, that can lead me as what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for someone that we can go into the world and take it by the horns or whatever. But it was not only saying that, but our fruit from our relationship started to show that.
Mm-hmm.
You started helping me with our ministry. You started helping us. You get what I'm saying? Like the fruit was there.
You wasn't talking fruit, you was being fruit.
No, right. So
absolutely. And that's awesome, because everybody has to hear that, because you have to understand that while you are becoming, the two of you becoming one, and you're cultivating your team, that everybody can't be on the team. And then you also told us that, like, you, before you even connect with somebody to create a team, make sure there's some fruit, that they are the one to be on your team as well. Because sometimes we are experiencing challenges right away, soon as we marry, or, things, because we went into something emotionally not paying attention. But everyone that is designed to be in your life, they should be bearing some type of fruit. And that fruit could be support. That fruit can be help. That fruit can be encouragement. That fruit can be a lot of different things, but you should see some evidence that they're on your team, and not like, oh, you playing for somebody else. Because if you playing for somebody else, then you don't need to be on this team. And so I think that definitely, if you are having a struggle, if you are seeing something, or that fruit is not necessarily there, Chuck, you said something that's great. You said, we started talking. Hey, what do you want? What do you want out? What are you expecting from a man? I'm expecting a man that can lead the home, that can do this, that is led by God. He follows Christ and I follow him. And then you're saying, I'm expecting a woman that is a woman of God. So that's where, if you have any doubt, there needs to be a pause. I don't care what has been bought, the dress, the ring, the whatever, put it on pause. You don't have to call it off, but put it on pause, and then get some clarity. Like you said, Chuck, get some clarity, and make sure that, yes, my team and your team, okay, yeah, it's lining up. We might even have we might need a couple of practices. We might need to work out some kinks, but we on the same team, or either maybe we not. But you definitely want to do that before you invest in that, because Andrea, you said this when we first got on, you were like, this is a marriage purpose. And when you start dating with the idea of purpose, and then you're gonna marry for purpose, and purpose supersedes everything. It supersedes all of that, because if I don't keep my purpose in mind and what is purposed for this union to do for the kingdom, then we're going to be out of whack all the time, and we're going to always have a problem, and it's just not going to work out. And then we're going to leave a trail of bitterness and brokenness and things that did not have to happen, because we didn't get the clarity, we didn't pay attention to the fruit and make sure that we were lining up. So we definitely want to do that, and I think that is awesome advice for the people.
If you are married or if you are dating, there is no difference in the amount of work that should be done in your walk with God to be intentional and understanding, Lord, what have you placed in me? I don't want to leave this earth, God, without using everything that you gave me, Lord. Make me your vessel, Father. And the person that I'm connected to, Lord, tell me, how can we go farther together? And so if you're dating, having a conversation where you bring what God has deposited in you, written down on paper, write it down, make it plain, and have them do the same, and see how can we go farther together, but intentionally doing that even when you're married. We have a whiteboard right now where I have it listed out. Hey, this is my vision. This is what I'm seeing for our future. This is what I'm seeing for, when we're 40, not as a wish list for our genie God, but so that way we can start speaking what is not as if it is, so that it might come to pass, right? And so that way he can know, because he's not a mind reader, what it is that I have in this vision that's different, that things completely different than him, and he can tell me, what he's seeing, and I know how to support him. And we talk about how I can support him and vice versa. So no one feels like, man, I've sold myself and what the Lord has given me for the sake of this marriage, because I equate marriage to what I'm assuming he's expecting of me.
Come on.
No, you are intentional in being in a purpose-driven marriage, a purpose-driven relationship for the main goal, which is giving God your life. And, you know, returning back to him, you know, what he has so given you, because he invites you into this life of just giving him glory. And he's already pleased with you. So a relationship is a detail, but it can get you farther.
Amen. My final words would be understanding the sanctity of marriage and understanding that first organization that Christ, God made was the family, man and woman, and they became one, the union. And understand that when he did that, he assigned purpose to that. So if you're dating someone and you can understand married, or you're in a a relationship or a marriage, and you feel that both of you guys is just like we're too into ourselves, you need to pause and redirect, because marriage is for purpose. Purpose meaning you're going somewhere
in the same direction.
You're right, hand in hand. Because that's what he's ordained. And that is the beauty, because, I've met so many people that get married. They're like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just,
it's not the same.
Right. It's not the same.
It's not as fun.
It's right. It's just feel like we're stale. And the thing is because you have to find and ask the Lord to reveal the assigned purpose that is for your marriage, for your marriage. Find the assigned purpose for your marriage.
Chuck, Andrea, God has an amazing purpose for you, not only for your marriage, but for your life. I can just feel it, and just coming off of you all.
Thank God for y'all. I mean, y'all are clearly doing something, together, and it seems like it brings you so much joy. So thank y'all for answering your call and allowing us to come on.
Y'all not just doing something. Y'all are saving, restoring marriages.
Yes,
and
future
future marriages. So glory to the work that God has placed in y'all hearts, man. I'm so excited that I got to come on here with you guys and just be a part of what the Lord has placed on y'all. So I'm pray for this show, man. I love it.
And quick shout out to Jamila for the awesome.
Thank y'all for having us.
Absolutely. So if someone wants to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram at Andrea_Oputa. And so that's a great place to find me.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel so bad because I've been fasting from social media. But once I get back on there, you can definitely connect with me.
You can reach him.
Right. On Instagram at Chuck_Oputa. You can find me then just Chuck Oputo on Facebook. Definitely connect. We'd love to connect with you guys.
So we want to thank you for joining us today on TMC. If this is your first time listening, go ahead and subscribe. Click the like button and turn on your notifications so you'll be notified each time we upload a video. And if you're listening on iTunes, rate the podcast and leave a review. We want to invite you to head on over to our leadership podcast, Lead to Greatness, where my husband is interviewing entrepreneurs and great leaders from all around the world every week.
So we want to thank you for joining us today on TMC. Looking forward to hanging out with you again on next week as we continue to help you take your relationship from surviving to thriving. Bye. See you next week.